We're live.
Hello, everybody. This is the editorial team from Crypto Trader News. Today we have Tony, Matt, and myself, Meredith. And today we have some interesting discussion based on world news and what's happening in our crypto wallets. So I hope you tune in and join in the conversation. Leave some messages in the chats wherever you are. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Tony, we're on LinkedIn?
We are not on LinkedIn. Nope.
We're not on LinkedIn. Okay, so
not today.
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Tune in, leave some comments, let us know that you are listening in, and we will maybe post your comments if they're pretty good. All right, so, we ready to start?
Yep. So got a few... Well, let's actually put everyone into context before we actually start discussing. Trump should be going live in a couple minutes to respond to the attack made by Iran last night, which apparently, they're saying they killed 80 of our people, and the U.S. is saying that no, they didn't actually kill any of our people. They just destroyed, the actual base or something. I think it's a naval base. Or a couple of them.
I think there were two or three,
like
right?
Yeah, two or three of them, right?
Were targeted.
Yeah. So today I thought, it would just be good to actually discuss the whole mess that we're in right now, right? I mean, there's a lot of people actually saying, hey, World War III, it's starting to look pretty ugly. I think personally it's starting to look more like Iraq 2.0 more than World War III, mainly because there's no one really saying much. Aside from Iran and the US. In fact, it's all Twitter. It's not even it's mainly on Twitter. It's Donald Trump tweeting, and then there's also a couple of people from Iran tweeting. But aside from that, there's not really that many people saying anything. Now, of course, we do have this problem where we're actually seeing two major powers, pretty much declaring war with one another, which is not something fun, right? So just give me your input. Let me know what you think. Maybe we can start off by asking. Well, let me just ask you one question to actually start off a conversation. Was the U.S. smart or right on killing the military leader from Iran, who's actually known to be a major terrorist? Matt?
Well, he's been needing taken out for years, but I don't think that there was, unless they show that there was something imminent, I don't think that there was the justification to do it at that time. We've known where he is. Like I said in my article the other day, it's not like he was hiding in a cave in Afghanistan. When they gave this option to Trump, it was the high end or the out there option, and he took it. And at that time, when he said, yes, let's go after him, Soleimani, they didn't know where he was. At that moment, they did not know where he was. Our intelligence had to go scrambling to find out, okay, he's on his way into Iraq now. And then that's when we hit outside the airport. So I do see the reasoning for taking him out. He is responsible for thousands of Americans' deaths, but I just think timing was completely off on this.
Okay, so just as a quick summary, it was the right move at the wrong time.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't.
Now what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, what about you, Meredith? What do you think?
I think that they had an opportunity to take Soleimani out. You have an Iranian general in Iraq. What the hell was he doing there? So if their intel said, hey, we've got an opportunity, then I think we should take it, because it's not like they just barely put him on the terrorist list. He's been high up on the list, and I think it was a good thing. I think there's a lot of political spin about the timing because the elections are 11 months away. I think that's bullshit. Excuse the language. But
okay.
You know what? If you have an opportunity to take out a high-end target, I don't care who it is. I don't care what president it is. Take him out. That's my opinion.
Okay. I 100% agree with both of you guys. I think that, I mean, to be honest, I think it's kind of hypocritical to be criticizing to be criticizing Donald Trump for killing a mass murderer and then praising Obama for killing Bin Laden, for example. If you're gonna praise Obama, you have to praise this move. Now, of course, if we put ourselves into the context that there are different scenarios, right? Number one, you've got a president that's currently being impeached, who all of a sudden, and of course, the ultimate question here is, did they just pull out a murdering this guy out of their asses to distract us or keep us off the track of actually getting rid of our president, which is something that we're trying to do? Or did they actually plan this accordingly because, like Meredith said, they saw an opportunity and they really wanted this guy out? I mean, the ultimate question here is the killing of this person something that was planned out according to American principles, that this guy actually needed to be taken out? Or did they actually kill this person to keep us off what's important right now, which is, in my opinion, which is getting Donald Trump out of the White House? That's my problem here comes, Bin Laden, come on, he caused probably the worst terrorist attack in human history, right? Which was 9/11. I mean, the guy had to be taken out. And there was no fuzzy scenario around the U.S. at the moment or at the time. They saw an opportunity and they took it. Whereas here you have this sketchy, it's just the overall context that makes the whole thing sketchy, in my opinion. But I like I said earlier, I think that it's kind of hypocritical to be praising Obama and be criticizing this move. I don't think it's fair.
Here's the thing, it depends. We are so divided right now. I mean, there's no going around that. You're either a Trump critic or you're a Trump fan, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter. The hypercritical, actually, it does matter, because each side is spinning it the way they want to, even though it's basically the same result. The guy needed to be taken out. One side is criticizing because they're saying, oh, it's the timing. Oh, he's trying to divert from the impeachment thing, and Trump's like, look, I'm just doing my job, and we've got elections in 11 months. You don't fucking like me, then vote for somebody else. I mean, seriously, I think that's where we are. And I think the way that anybody, depending on what side you're on, you're going to spin it your way to fit the propaganda machine.
Makes sense. So now my question is, okay, we killed this guy. These guys retaliated, and now they've tried to kill our guys. What happens now? What's the smart way of actually doing this now?
I want to hear Matt's opinion on this first.
Okay.
Really and truly, I don't think it was a move to take the discussion off of impeachment. I think this has only to do with Iran and what's been going on for the last 9 months or so. What's next is anybody's guess. Trump, if he starts listening to Fox and everybody, depending on how Hannity and all them do, because Trump spoke some big words the other night that if any of our people or our assets were hit, that Iran would pay dearly. Well, our asset was hit. Nobody died, though, but Iran is reporting, dozens of deaths. If he just says, meh, they didn't hurt us. Iran saves face in their country. They can say, we showed those dirty Americans, and it kind of tapers off. Everything stops here. If Trump ratchets this up and does do 52 bombings, and God forbid he hits cultural sites, then we are going to be looking at another war. Last night when the news was first breaking, one of my first thoughts was World War III, like you said, Tony, but you brought up a really good point. Trump has isolated us so far from our allies. We have pissed off just about every ally we have. And on the other hand, Iran has China and North Korea and Russia. If something heads off in that way, in that area, we could be looking at a war against a couple of countries, not just Iran. Iraq could easily flip because they're pissed now. And so it's really anybody's guess. It all depends on what the Big Orange Blob says this morning and what actions that we take. But I think cooler heads will prevail. I think that the Republicans have been in his ear all last night. If he would have talked last night, we would be in war. Somebody talked to him, took his finger off the button, told him to calm down overnight. And so hopefully we're going to see a more presidential president that is actually leading by facts and not by gut.
Who has the guts of telling Donald Trump to calm down?
Ivanka.
I wonder who that person is. Like, well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, who does Donald Trump even listen to anyone? Like, if, like, I don't even think there's someone in his, I don't know, cabinet or whatever you want to call it, like, capable of actually calming this guy down. We've got someone from Brazil saying hi. Hello.
Hi, Coates.
Yeah, but I'm you know, you mentioned, hey, someone actually made him take the finger off the button, but I wonder, I don't even think that's possible. I mean, this guy is so impulsive sometimes. He's just natural. He's a very natural president. He's just he is himself, which is what a lot of people like, right? You don't have this political correct president actually governing. You got a real human being. The problem the problem that I see is that he's a very meanie and asshole human being. I wish it was like I wish we could actually have a natural and not so grumpy president, but you know, that just, I guess that's just a pipe dream or you know, utopia or something.
With Trump, I think we have to understand, first of all, that he grew up in New York. He is a New York City businessman. He's a real estate magnate. They are not supposed to be pushovers. I mean, if you are, forget it. You're never going to make it. And it just kind of, you know, like this, a lot of people, when they think about New York City, they think it's all tough and stuff like that. Now, I grew up in New York State, so I had to travel 60 miles south if I wanted to go into the city. And the thing is, if you've got some self-confidence and you can look people in the eye, a lot of people, weaker people, don't like that and they'll shy away, you know? It's so you're either really self-confident or you're friggin' crazy, right? And so you have to come off as that. That doesn't mean I'm that self-confident or that crazy, but you know, you have to put out this persona or you're a target, bottom line. So when you put him in context as a businessman first who talks and loves a deal, loves to haggle, and you put him in that context, I think he's probably a lot more calm than we might give him credit for. And I'm only saying that because I've dealt with, you know, New York City people and business people and people who are really loud because they want to shout you down first, you know, so that they can win and maybe have an advantage. That being said, I think that he tries to surround, and every president does this, and they would be stupid if they don't, to surround yourself with smarter people than you. You know, I mean, you don't have to be an A+ student, you don't have to be a genius, but if you surround yourself with people who know world politics, know how to handle things, I think you have an advantage there. The other thing that
here's the thing. Donald Trump is the smartest human being in every single aspect of life. That's a start. Well, and that's, you know, coming from his own words. He, you know, if I say no one knows the stock market as well as I do, I mean, that's Donald Trump. No one knows such and such as well as I do. I mean, that's Donald Trump himself. I mean, his whole campaign was essentially.
Is that him or is that his persona? You know,
well, I'm pretty sure it's him by this point. I mean, so I don't know. Excusing him for being the way he is just because he grew up in New York City? I mean, I don't know, Meredith. Come on. I think the guy's
there's
the way
something
he is
to that.
because
You have to. Yep. Go ahead.
I think he's the way he is because there's assholes in every place. I mean, there's assholes in New York and there's assholes in wherever you go. To be honest,
But you know what? Going to the attack and the retaliation and all this stuff. You know, when the drone was shot down, people like Hannity and the news cycles are like, "Oh, World War III, he's gonna nuke everybody." You know, he's gonna go crazy and all that stuff, and he didn't. You know, he says, it was just a drone. You know, it was like a $1 billion drone, but hey, you know, didn't retaliate. Says, you spill our precious blood and we will come after you. And I think that's a powerful, powerful statement that says, you know what, I back up my military men and women. And I have to admire that because I have 2 sons in the military. I have 2 sons in the Marine Corps. Right now, they haven't been deployed to the Middle East, but you know, they're Marines, they're riflemen first.
So hey, that's actually a great question for you, Meredith. How would you feel if Trump shows up in the next few minutes and says, "Hey, we're going to war and we're going to go there"? How would that make you feel? You having 2 kids in the military?
I would be terrified for my kids, but you know what? They signed up knowing that he was going to be elected president. They said if
they signed up prior to Trump getting elected, or
2015, and they said, "I am not joining if I think Hillary Clinton's going to win." That's what they said.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
How
so
come?
they, you know,
out of curiosity,
I didn't really discuss it with them because, you know, like I said, I'm kind of middle of the road, kind of conservative, independent, and I can be swayed with really good discussion and debate. I don't want to be preached at. I don't want to be yelled at. I want honest discussion, you know, and throw me facts. I don't care about opinion or anything like that. I can be swayed. So for my kids to be like totally right leaning, I don't know if that's their dad's influence. You know, but I always said, hey, don't just listen to what people are saying, do your own research. And they did, and whatever it is that they found, I never really discussed it with them. But they were like,
so, okay.
Yeah, but they made their decision based on their belief that he was going to win.
And what happens if, say, Bernie Sanders gets elected this Christmas?
That scares the hell out of me for some reason. Bernie Sanders
would you how would you respond to, or you know, not you because you're not enrolled, but do you know how would your kids react to Sanders being elected? Like, would they actually leave the military? Do you know by any chance? I don't know if you had that discussion with them.
Yeah, no, I haven't discussed that, but that's
something you should ask them, and maybe we can touch on that next week or in a couple weeks or something. Out of curiosity, I think it's a fun topic.
I've got one kid who says I'm going to be a lifer because he actually likes the job that he does, and I've got another one who's like, I'm not sure. I could get a job anywhere, you know, with his training. So I don't know, but that would be an interesting question.
So let me ask you guys something. Should we go to war, Matt?
No.
Meredith?
No, and I don't think that this will be World War III.
Well, not World War, but should we go to war?
Okay, so that's not an easy question for me to answer, only because I was in, I think, third grade when in 1979 our hostages were taken by Iran, and I was one of those little girls that was tying yellow ribbons on trees and listening to Tony Orlando. Okay, so Iran's never been on my favorites list, just from growing up with that. So we've been in somewhat of a conflict, whether we want to call it war or, you know, whatever. And quite honestly, I am so friggin' confused with the Middle East, and I'm just going to put this out there because it just seems that depending on the administration, that we're either defending Iran or Iraq. And I'm like, why the hell are we even there? I really don't know. I'm so confused. Which side is the bad side? I don't know.
Well, it depends. When we're looking at Syria, I think isn't Iran actually an ally with the U.S. when it comes to Syria? But now they're obviously not going to be friends with us anymore. I don't know. It's a huge mess. I'm as confused as you are in the Middle East because depending on the war and the countries that are fighting each other, you've got a specific countries working with each other, and then they all have their own individual conflicts happening also, like the U.S. and Iran now, which I don't know what's going to end up happening. I don't think this is worthy of a war. I don't think we're going to go to war.
Matt, what do you think?
I think it's
you and I kind of grew up with that. We knew about the Iranian conflict. Tony, I don't think you were born yet. No, you definitely weren't born then.
The Mickey Mouse bumper stickers, that were had Mickey Mouse shooting the finger, telling Iran where to go. But the whole thing is that this issue, this current crisis with Iran, it's all Trump's doing. This is all Trump's doing. Everything from the oil tankers getting attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, however you say it, Hormuz last year, the attacks on the Saudi oil fields in October or September, October. That all happened after Trump pulled out of the nuclear agreement. Iran was sticking to that agreement. They were not enriching uranium. They were sticking to the agreement. Sanctions had been lessened. Their people were doing okay. Then Trump just does away with that deal that all these other nations had signed off on. And the only freaking reason he did it, or two reasons. He did it because Obama's name was on it and because they got their billions of dollars back. And Trump and some of the Republicans cannot stomach that we gave them billions of dollars. That's how they say it. We gave them billions of dollars to a terrorist state, but it was their money. And when Trump backed out of that agreement that Iran had been sticking to, that pissed them off, and that started the chain of events to where we're at now. And if we keep this tit and tat back and forth crap, it is going to end up in a war, and it's still going to be on his shoulders.
But was Iran really heeding to the agreement? Because some of the reports that I read said that the inspectors weren't allowed to go in and check. So there's still a question mark. Yeah, I mean, there's a question mark for me. So and the other thing about that is also, don't they test every administration? They're like, don't they test, just to see how far they can push with a new president? Because we have a president anywhere from 4 to 8 years. That's not a long time for a regime that has a lifelong dictator or a leader, So a lot of them were like, we can push them and stuff like that. Or maybe if they have an agenda, they want to push harder.
I want to interrupt you guys.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions with that. I think
Keith has a good point here, though. War is pointless unless the U.S. That's an interesting picture. I'm actually going to hide the comment just because it's kind of freaky. He's saying war is pointless unless the U.S. takes full control and doesn't leave countries to their own devices after the fact. It's playground tag otherwise. So essentially what Keith is saying is war is pointless unless the U.S. actually takes over the countries that they're fighting for. So I'm actually confused. What is he saying? Like, it's pointless unless you actually invade and overtake the nation that you're fighting for. I'm a little confused there.
I think he's saying that we have to stay on ground, not like Afghanistan we pulled out, Iraq we pulled out, and we're not giving them the infrastructure to be able to rebuild. We're just kind of leaving that power vacuum.
Wait, I can listen to Donald Trump on the background. What's happening?
Exactly. Sorry,
you want to share the screen so we can listen together?
I was actually going to say, is he actually live?
Yeah, he just went on.
You can leave it on if you want, just the audio.
The leading sponsor of terrorism and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world. We will never let that happen. Last week, we took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives. At my direction, the United States military eliminated the world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. As the head of the Quds Force, Soleimani was personally responsible for the absolutely worst. He trained terrorist armies, including Hezbollah, launching terrorist strikes against civilian targets. He fueled bloody civil wars all across the region. He viciously wounded and murdered thousands of U.S. troops, including the planting of roadside bombs that maim and dismember their victims. Soleimani directed the recent attacks on U.S. personnel in Iraq, and killed one American, and he orchestrated the violent assault on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. In recent days, he was planning new attacks on American targets, but we stopped him. Soleimani's hands were drenched in both American and Iranian blood. He should have been terminated long ago. By removing Soleimani, we have sent a powerful message to terrorists. If you value your own life, you will not threaten the lives of our people. As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior. In recent months alone, Iran has seized ships in international waters, fired an unprovoked strike on Saudi Arabia, and shot down 2 U.S. drones. Iran's hostilities substantially increased after the foolish Iran nuclear deal was signed in 2013. And they were given $150 billion, not to mention $1.8 billion in cash. Instead of saying thank you to the United States, they chanted death to America. In fact, they chanted death to America the day the agreement was signed. And Iran went on a terror spree, funded by the money from the deal, and created hell in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Iraq. The missiles fired last night at us and our allies were paid for with the funds made available by the last administration. The regime also greatly tightened the reins on their own country, even recently killing 1,500 people at the many protests that are taking place all throughout Iran. The very defective JCPOA expires shortly anyway and gives Iran a clear and quick path to nuclear breakout. Iran must abandon its nuclear ambitions and end its support for terrorism. The time has come for the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Russia, and China to recognize this reality. They must now break away from the remnants of the Iran deal, or JCPOA. And we must all work together toward making a deal with Iran that makes the world a safer and more peaceful place. We must also make a deal that
Buffering.
allows Iran to thrive and prosper and take advantage of its enormous untapped potential. Iran can be a great country. Peace and stability cannot prevail in the Middle East as long as Iran continues to foment violence, unrest, hatred, and war. The civilized world must send a clear and unified message to the Iranian regime. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward. Today, I am going to ask NATO to become much more involved in the Middle East process. Over the last 3 years, under my leadership, our economy is stronger than ever before, and America has achieved energy independence. These historic accomplishments changed our strategic priorities. These are accomplishments that nobody thought were possible. And options in the Middle East became available. We are now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. We are independent, and we do not need Middle East oil. The American military has been completely rebuilt under my administration at a cost of $2.5 trillion. U.S. armed forces are stronger than ever before. Our missiles.
Oh man.
Well,
I mean, so there's a couple things that I liked, and then there's a couple things that I hated.
Lethal and fast. Under construction are many hypersonic
he's still talking about
missiles. The fact that we have this great military and equipment, however, does not mean we have to use it. We do not want to use it. American strength, both military and economic, is the best deterrent. 3 months ago, after destroying 100% of ISIS
You said it, Squirrel.
and its territorial caliphate, we killed the savage leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, who was responsible for so much death, including the mass beheadings of Christians, Muslims, and all who stood in his way. He was a monster. Al-Baghdadi was trying again to rebuild the ISIS caliphate and failed. Tens of thousands of ISIS fighters have been killed or captured during my administration. ISIS is a
Well, I
natural
don't think
enemy of
we're going
Iran.
to war. He would have said it.
The destruction of
Yeah.
ISIS for Iran. And we should work together on this and other shared. Finally, to the people and leaders of Iran, we want you to have a future, and a great future, one that you deserve. One of prosperity at home and harmony with the nations of the world. The United States is ready to embrace peace with all who seek it. I want to thank you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
For nothing.
Thank you.
Cool. So let's talk about that. That was actually cool. We should actually start doing that more often. Responding
was
live.
fun.
Look at our beautiful faces reacting to Donald Trump live.
Well, that was mine and Meredith's idea a few weeks ago. Was that 1 week we do the roundtable, and then the next week we do something live that we listen in real time. So that was
Yeah.
great.
So any quick comments on that?
He didn't declare war.
No, he didn't declare war, and he just tooted his own horn more. You know, like he's so good at. And the person
So-
said instead.
So maybe
And
the overall.
I didn't hear about any American deaths, which for me
Yeah,
is
they didn't
priority.
clarify that. Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, how can you know if there were deaths in RD? It's a matter of who you want to believe, to be honest, because you can't really be sure. Now the overall
I mean,
conclusion.
the people lobbing bombs from, I don't know, hundreds of miles away compared to, because they were military bases, so we have people there. I think that they could pretty much maybe not do an in-depth analysis, but they can do a body count and they can see what kind of buildings are damaged.
Well, yeah, the problem is which report are you reading? Are you reading the one that says there's 80 casualties, or are you reading the one that says there's no casualties? And that's the problem. I wish we could actually talk to the.
Right, and there might have been casualties, but if they weren't American, I mean, that's kind of a shitty thing to say. If they're American, I don't care. Or if they're not American, I don't care. That's kind of a shitty thing to say. But
I think I get what you mean.
think,
The fact that there's no
you know what I
casualties,
mean.
or
It's like it's not our people.
yeah.
So that's
But the
not our
overall,
blood. That's not
the two biggest points that I think he said was, number one, sanctions. He didn't actually say what sanctions. And number two, he's actually calling for help because no one is saying anything, which is what we actually mentioned at the very beginning. No one has actually said squat about the whole thing. Not Canada, not Europe, not NATO, no one. But the one thing that actually I found interesting was the fact that he called for help for Russia and China, which was
because he knows that they are on Iran's side, and he's trying to get them to say, hey, like kind of like what he was doing with China and North Korea, to get them to say, no, you can't have nukes, bad boy, you can't have them. It'll bring too much instability to the region. And so that's why he's throwing that wink, wink, nod to them, especially, since his buddy Putin is always listening to every word he says. But, there was a point I was going to make. I think kind of we're starting to say it a minute ago. I wish we were getting more news from inside Iran. I've seen some really, really disturbing videos over the last week where people are claiming that all of the crowds at Soleimani's funeral, they were forced to go. That
forced, or they may not even be real. What if they're? It's so hard. Jesus, it is so freaking hard to figure out what is true and what is false in today's world. It is so difficult.
Well, I read reports where they were shutting down universities and government buildings, and they were forcing the students and workers to attend. They were firing over the heads of people that refused to go to the funeral. And then, now you're hearing that they're cheering in the streets because they think that, or what they're reading is that they're getting, they killed 80 Americans. And, they mentioned, I think it was Pompeo this morning or yesterday, somebody saying, they've been tightening the grip on their citizens for years, and they have. They are, just basically like North Korea as far as what news comes in and what news goes out, what access they have to the internet. And so there are people right now, the majority of them are believing whatever the regime is telling them. And so they think that, one, we don't know what they told them about Soleimani's death. And two, we don't know what they're being told about what we've been doing to them. We know that the people like us three in Iran, they're the ones suffering. The sanctions have been hitting them with, food being unavailable, long lines for bread, the necessities of life, toilet paper, everything. We have just put this chokehold on them. And I really wish we could hear more from the Iranian people, because I see some in tweets sometimes that claim they're in Iran and they're saying, no, we don't like this regime. We want, get them out. And so I would really, it'll never happen unless you just get some citizen reporters that are able to get some SD cards out with more video. But it would be really interesting to see and hear what's going on that side of things, because, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I had found on the internet was video of Iran in the 70s. And you had women in jeans and bathing suits and disco and all of this stuff where it was very westernized. And I'm looking at this going, that's Iran. And so when the new regime came in and took over, all of a sudden, they're in these, what do you call them, hijabs and all this garb cover up, women know your place, and I'm seeing all of these disgusting videos about Sharia law, and I'm just, I don't know. I don't, like Matt was saying, I don't know where the truth is, how the people are feeling. Because if you talk to people in North Korea, all right, if you've seen any of the reports from people who've gotten inside, they, on fear of death, will say that they love their supreme leader, that they love Kim Jong Un. And
have you guys
that
watched
is-
that movie, The Interview?
Yes.
No, I
It
haven't
is
seen
so
that.
good. You have to watch it. It is an amazing movie. It's
But, you know,
exactly
like you
about that.
said-
Two Americans, they
Right.
go inside North Korea and they just expose North Korea for what it really is. And they do this mocking Kim Jong Un and all that. You should watch it. Everyone should watch that movie. I'll let you
But
wrap
you
it
know,
up.
like I was saying, is that if you are, let's just say you're in your home and you've got militia pointing guns at your family, and they've got a camera at you saying "smile" and say that everything's okay, you know,
Yeah, of course
what do
you're
you
gonna do it.
believe? You know, of course you're going to do that because you want to save your family. But you know, for the people who are exposed to that video, what are you going to believe? Because you don't see the guys holding guns, you know,
That's
to their
exactly
family.
why
So
it's so hard to make.
It's really very hard.
It's so hard. It is truly hard. So, last from Keith. Keith, we got to do something about your profile picture because it's just
no, he's
not.
going to stay that way forever.
It's not
I've known
PG.
him for a while.
Yeah, we need a PG-3 or something profile picture. Anyways, they did it as measured attack. He does not care what Iran's move is. If war, then fine. If not, then it's also fine. Calling for help is solidifying the fact that he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing that I want to point out. Iran sent ballistic missiles. Now, ballistic missiles aren't like lobbing something, like a grenade and hoping that it lands. Ballistic missiles have tracking. The fact that they missed and we don't have American casualties should be very telling. I think that it was a show of force to save face. That's my opinion. So that they can say, all right, we retaliated for Soleimani, and now we want to get back to our deal, or let's sit down and negotiate, but don't you retaliate. We did that. I mean, it's just like, it's this crazy thing.
That's exactly why
but I think it was a show of force to save face.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That's why they let Iraq officials know that the missiles were inbound. They knew that they would turn around and tell the Americans, and we had a chance to clear out the areas. And then plus, they came for 800 miles, and so we had them on radar the entire time. And so, yeah, this attack, if they wanted to kill Americans, there would be dead Americans this morning.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Two ways about it. And so this was a calculated strike, and just like Meredith said, to save face, to be able to say on their news today, we killed 80 Americans. Y'all don't know any better. Tomorrow we're going to make it 90, and Friday it'll be 100. And it wasn't enough to provoke Trump into opening the floodgates. And so I am hopeful that this is it. That Iran's going to back off now. We're going to back off. But we'll have to see. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. I'm not really expecting much from Europe or Russia or China. They're probably going to be like, yeah, figure it out on yourself. You put yourself into this spot, right? I mean, and I'm not expecting much. I mean, if they haven't said much at this point, I don't think they're going to be saying anything big. Anyways, I was just going to say, do you guys want to touch on the markets for a little, for just a couple minutes before we wrap it up?
Sure.
So, yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I said I hadn't looked today.
You haven't looked? Well, today's market is actually green, except for freaking Ripple. It's getting on my nerves at this point, because Ripple used to be a very good coin to be trading. And for the last month and a half, it's been such a horrible coin to just overall hold. Even Ether went up by quite a lot today, and now it's going down again. I don't know. It's just overall crypto is doing very poorly. Particularly talking about altcoins, but Bitcoin is the only one that actually gains a big chunk when the bulls come in, right? So if I'm trying to see if I can actually share my screen real quick, and I'll try to share my.
What's the Dow Jones like? Because it just seems like when the market when the Dow Jones does well, crypto kind of tanks, and it's kind of a seesaw.
That's what it's been a lot.
It's usually that trend and pattern. Yeah, if stocks do well, crypto goes down, and vice versa. If crypto goes up, stocks typically go down.
Like I think all this stuff going on with the Middle East, that crypto would probably rise, and now after President Trump's announcement, no war, sanctions, and things like that, I think people are going to calm down, and I think crypto will probably start falling again. But that's my prediction. But I'm not a trader and I'm not a professional, so do not listen to me.
Yeah, don't listen to us. Why would you listen to us? All right, so that's the
don't
CTN wallet. It's interesting because this morning everything was green and right now everything's red. So it's, this is why I freaking hate crypto. It's like there's no freaking way. Like typically when you're trading stocks, man, if Disney goes up or down, there's usually like an XY reason why this and this happened. But with Bitcoin this morning, hell, Bitcoin went up to 8.3 and now it's sitting at 8.1 and it's probably going to keep going down. And all of these other altcoins are in red. Ugh. I may short Bitcoin actually and buy again when it goes below 8. We'll see. We'll have to think about that. Maybe ask Alan. I have made a trade for a week. Everything is up. I don't know what that means, Mitchell. Oh, I haven't made a trade for a week and everything's up. Yeah. I mean, don't be upset though, because that's kind of like the trading lifestyle of cryptocurrencies. I mean, when you can never predict this thing, it's just a matter of holding, and when you see the occasion, try to make money. Unless you're in it for the long term, like Meredith, right? I mean, Meredith is the.
I'm in it for the long term. I throw anywhere from $20 to $50 every other week at it, and I just sit on it. So I buy when it's trending down, I buy when it's trending up, and I'm just holding on to it because somewhere in my brain I'm thinking that I'm going to retire on this. And I might be the biggest fool of all. I don't know.
You could. So here, for example, I think I made a big mistake today, for example, because Bitcoin was at 8.3 at some point this morning, and now it's 8.1. I don't know what I just did. Let me see. And I should have probably short that. If this goes back up to 8.3, I'm probably going to sell, and then I'll buy again when it goes below 8K, which it will. It's going to go down, and it's probably going to go up. And you could make the mistake of selling now, and maybe tomorrow you wake up and it's sitting at 10K. You just never freaking know. Yep. We do try to curate content and news that actually makes sense as to why these things fluctuate in price. But like we said, I mean, don't take this as financial advice, because we are just as freaking lost as you are. Because there's no easy way of. Yeah, I mean, there's just no, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we're trying to be honest here. You can listen to any cryptocurrency YouTuber or any financial analyst. There is no way in hell anyone can 100% predict what's going to happen in crypto. It's all BS. You can try to predict based on previous patterns and previous charts, and we actually do that, and we got people doing that in CTN, but we make sure we include the whole, this is not financial advice statement, because it truly isn't. There's no way in hell, not me, not Matt with his CTN wallet updates, not anyone in our editorial team providing you with chart analysis or anything like that. No one in this freaking planet knows what's going to happen in crypto. No one. Not even freaking Satoshi Nakamoto, wherever the hell he is. If he is even a real thing. Well, he might actually be the one person to actually know if Bitcoin's going to go up and down. Yeah, I can actually visualize some guy in Hawaii just laughing and selling Bitcoin every day while we're all buying. That would be so funny. I wish they're probably going to make a movie in 100 years or something. But my mentality for that is, the more the big whales sell and the more we actually buy ourselves, the more decentralized it becomes and the more real it gets as people buy and the more decentralized it gets. So whales making profit.
Can I just jump in here with that? Okay, so with the halving happening this year, what do you guys think is going to happen with the miners? Do you think that more people will shut down and it'll be more of what do you call it? More centralized? Oh, you guys are seeing the edge of my.
I actually talked to Alan about this, and he said, "Dude, don't stress about it. I mean, miners are prepared. I mean, they know what's coming, and so the ones that want to stick around and have the actual means to stick around, they're gonna stick around. They're already preparing for that. And Bitcoin is still a very profitable business for miners. Will it become more centralized? It could happen. I mean." If your paycheck gets cut in half, you're probably not going to be very happy. But I don't know. It's a great question. I guess we're going to find out. And when is it? May?
I believe so.
May. Mm-hmm.
I like this again. Crypto. No one really knows the hell what's going to happen. My guess is that it's not going to be that big of a deal. These people are already preparing for it. So we'll see what happens. And if we take a look at stocks, are stocks up or down today? I haven't checked.
I hadn't either.
Let me see.
I know.
I'm gonna actually use the. Can I actually use this? I wonder if I can. I can't. Yes, I can. Okay. I wasn't planning for this. Yeah, stocks have been going up for like forever. The problem comes when all of these things actually crash. I mean, to be honest, historically speaking, they are going to crash because nothing goes up forever. And the crash is gonna probably be severe. But as long as you're able to hold, historically speaking, holding through crashes is also profitable in stocks. I actually like the stock market better than crypto, mainly because it actually makes sense. Things go up and down in value, and you've got bubbles. Like, we're sitting in a very big ass stock market bubble right now. I mean, things are so high, and they've been growing in value for like over a decade now. But there's still correlations. You can understand why Tesla's stock price goes up or down. Right. Because Elon Musk goes on some podcasts and starts smoking weed. Okay, correlation, causation, whatever you want to call it. But, there's an actual... Anyways, I've been talking for way too long now.
With Mitchell,
I think we can wrap it up.
With Mitchell in the chat, though, he said he had been wondering if Kim Jong-un had made a crypto as a way to fund them. I don't think he could have gotten away with starting their own crypto, but you can bet that they've got hackers that are mining. I would bet money on that they are mining crypto and that they are utilizing that as a way to go get around sanctions, to fund military, whatever. To what extent, I don't know, but they have, buildings full of guys that are on the computer all day and night, either trying to break into something, utilize others' computers for whatever. And so I bet that they've got their fingers into crypto in probably more ways than one.
For sure.
I pretty much any dictator will probably do that to fund whatever it is. I mean, if you look at Venezuela, they've been looking at crypto. Iran.
What's the name?
Korea,
the Petro coin or something like that.
I think it was Petro.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, but particularly Asian countries are very good at crypto. I mean, China pretty much is 1/3 of the whole Bitcoin network in terms of mining, right? It's a lot of miners. and we'll see what happens with their own blockchain or whatever coin they're building, which is supposed to be promising. Anyways, do you guys want to touch on anything else, or can we wrap it up?
I'm good.
I think we can wrap it up. We've been here almost an hour.
Yeah, today's was long. Anyways, it was fun to actually listening to Trump. We should prepare for more of these things. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. See y'all
Thanks
next.
everyone for watching and listening in, and we'll probably be here next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. See you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.